Good morning, everyone. Sorry for the delay. I do apologize. Part of it was me. Woke up a little bit late. Had a good meeting last night with the owner, Bruce Weiss. We were actually at a really good, fun event in Brooklyn, New York. We're going to be offering some new classes. Can't wait to tell you about that once we get everything up on the website. But stay tuned, folks. Going to be a lot of fun. Today, we have a great guest. Meet the agency. We're going to be talking about Maximus and what they do and where they're located. Um, we'll talk a little bit about Maximus, and their information will be on the bottom. Really important, write this stuff down. They focus on respect, innovation, customer service, and creating a future for individuals, to get employment, for career advancement. Got a really, really good episode in store, folks. I can't wait. Today, it's going to be a fun one. Once again, my name is Charles McNamara. I am the Director of Operations, Guardian Group Services. And today, we have Edmund.
Good morning and happy Friday to each and every one of you watching us. To Charles, to Bruce, Tanzania, Miss Sherry Howard, and the rest of the Guardian Group Services team. Thank you for extending this invitation to the Maximus New York City Career Pathways Program. It is a pleasure to be here with each and every one of you. And just like Charles and I spoke about a couple of minutes ago offline, what we're hoping that this conversation does is not only inform, but educating for you to actually have a little bit of fun also listening to some of the information that we're going to articulate throughout this discussion. Charles, back to you.
Thank you. I was looking forward to this because we do a lot of work together, right? We have a
Yes,
really
we
good
do, sir.
partnership.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny as, I put this out there. You're the second one, and I'm really glad to have you. I spoke to Keith, I spoke to Claudia. I'm like, you guys ready? They're like, yeah, let's do it. I'm like, you're gonna come on? They're like, no, we're busy. We have a lot of work to do, and I totally get that. They are very supportive, and I joke around because I know that they are actually very busy today. They're getting a list of students for training next week.
That's correct. Yes.
We'll have a meeting. So they wanted to be here. They just, they're focusing on the needs of the individuals. So they kind of threw you to the fire, I think. In this but in all seriousness,
that's a little bit of the modus operandi around these neck of the woods, Charles. So, my bulletproof vest is not on no more.
I promise I'll be nice. I promise.
It's all good, brother. It's all good, man. Thank you once again for stretching, for extending the invitation to our organization. We're looking truly forward to this discussion. And again, the ball's in your court. And hopefully, I could answer the questions to the best of my ability.
I think, Maximus in particular, they have a very clear action plan of what they want to do and how they're going to help their students. I actually did not realize how big you guys are. I'm kind of new to the agency and the workforce side of things. My background is, military emergency response, and that's all I've done for the past 2 decades. But now that I'm the director of operations, I've been exposed to, the agencies and the work that everybody does. So can you just tell the people a little bit about Maximus, where you are, but them as a whole and what they do?
Sure. So just to be a little bit specific, Charles, going back to your question. So at this particular time, where I sit at is the Bronx offices, located in what we like to call the Morrisina neighborhood of the Bronx. So this is one of the headquarters for the New York City Career Pathways Program. This particular program was initiated by the Human Resources Administration back in 2017. And the purpose of that was to give all the individuals that were receiving benefits such as Medicaid, SNAP, cash assistance, and so forth, the opportunity to really get out of that program and obtain employment and to move to the next chapter and that next stage in their life. And that's where organizations such as ourselves and this particular program, New York City Career Pathways, comes in. So all the participants that we actually receive within our program are referred to us by HRA. So once HRA deems that that particular individual is job ready or is ready to enter a job readiness program, this give that particular individual a referral. They could refer it to us as well as other organizations. But again, let's say, for example, refer to us in Maximus. They will come to our organization there. We'll go through a process of intake and also a process of evaluation and assessment, right? They will be assigned to, as what we like to call a case manager. We double dabble between the titles of case manager and also service coordinator, but primarily a case manager, where that case manager really evaluates and assesses the individual, looks at, okay, let's look at your resume if you have any, right? And see, what particular experience you might have as far as that is concerned, and what we need to improve upon to get you where you need to be in reference to your next job opportunity.
Awesome. That is amazing. And I was looking at the numbers just for this past year, year to date, last year to this year. Claudia, Keisha, yourself, and the whole team there at Maximus, they have set up almost over 1,000 individuals to take security guard training. I was amazed by looking at that number.
That's amazing. And kudos to both to Keisha and to Claudia, who have welcomed me with open arms to this particular organization as far as that is concerned, and are tremendous at really putting the program participant at the epicenter of everything we do here. So to go back to your point, and our partnership even with you guys at Guardian Group, which we, is one of our most important partnerships, security has become, somewhat of our bread and butter, Charles, to be quite honest with you. And hence why you see, such a huge volume in that number. And we're, it's almost like a money tree in a way, right? In a certain aspect, right? We have people that are interested. We have a vendor that is definitely interested in recruiting, also training and doing such things. So let's make that happen. Let's put that in there. Let's put the resources necessary. Let's get that particular individual trained. Let's get that particular individual interviews if they're ready for it, to get them to that next level to become a successful security guard. And if that particular individual, he or she, is looking to obtain more knowledge and is looking to, again, go up the ranks within the security and public safety sector, amazing. Yep. Let's offer FO2 training. We do that here as well. And again, kudos to both Claudia Brito and also Keisha Flood for making sure that particular training, alongside with you guys, is scheduled and coordinated on a monthly basis.
Yeah, one thing I would say is, the organization is amazing. We do things together, both agencies, on giving them information like, hey, what's expected? What are you doing? I don't know. No one ever told me. That doesn't happen with Maximus and us. You know exactly, hey, your training dates are 1, 2, and 3. You know your fingerprints are this date. Hey, you got everything now? You got your license? Now let's go get a job. So, I think that's really important. And for the folks who are interested, I'll leave that information on the ticker to join up with Maximus. We'll go over this a few times. Really good structures in place. I know that you have over a decade, in customer service. I've looked at your background. I know a little bit about you. That's the investigation side of what we do. But it's important to understand, the client's needs, right? People coming in, they might be new to the workforce thing, or they might be new, to the security guard industry. The security guard process in New York State, pretty straightforward. You got to take the pre-assignment first. You got to get fingerprinted and mail that stuff off to the license. And then once you get the license, it's good for 2 years. But we don't stop there. We try to help everybody, get to work right after that as well. So I think, it takes a village, and we have a whole tribe on both sides that really goes out there and does that. So, we put some questions together. So I'm going to kind of go over these one by one. going through your website, I did not realize how much stuff that you do, not just in New York City, but all over the world. It seems like you guys are really, really big. But for this in New York City program, I'd like to talk a little bit about the other things that you do. Security is one of them, but what industries and positions does the agency specialize in?
Sure, Charles. So we don't only specialize in public safety and security. So let's say, for example, the Bronx office, the team here likes to specialize in growing employment opportunities within warehouse and transportation. We also focus within something you just mentioned a couple of seconds ago, customer service and call center, training, right? We do workshops as far as that is concerned within call center and customer service as well. We just wrapped up a workshop in that particular sector, in that particular area. We also do healthcare on top of that as well. But that's kind of like the really bread and butter of our growth, and where we like to actually look at opportunities for individuals to seek employment. And we also do maintenance and janitorial services as well. We have many of our program participants that have prior and previous experience in that arena as well. So we try to build on resourcing additional opportunities in that area as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's important. Sometimes people, forget that you got to start somewhere, and some positions are
Right.
entry level, but you
Mhm.
also have career advancement, which kind of leads into like the next question. What are the qualifications and experience that you guys have? I guess we'll talk a little bit about your background and how does that translate to help the individuals who come to Maximus.
I love the fact that you did an investigation on me as far as that is concerned. Hilarious. To speak a little bit about myself at this particular time, Charles. So yes, as you mentioned before, I do my career has really focused in a tremendous customer service background over a decade plus in that arena. Whether working in different types of capacity with human resources in the corporate offices of Macy's, then doing a complete 180 and joining the home care industry for about 6 years, managing that particular home care organization's quality and customer centricity program, as well as conflict resolution program. So I was one of their overall patient quality managers. So that at the center and the core of that particular aspect of my career has always been being empathetic, being considerate, being understanding, to the point that you alluded to a couple of seconds ago with reference to being able to place yourself in other people's shoes and understanding where they're coming from, right? Not everybody could do that, believe it or not. And I'm being fully transparent and off the cuff here. It's difficult to do so because there's times where, let's say, for example, when you're dealing with the type of population that we're dealing particularly here within the New York City Career Pathways program for Maximus, you're dealing with a population that has been underserved, that by certain aspects of society has been shunned upon, has been ignored, marginalized. And for that, you have to have a tremendous amount of consideration, a tremendous amount of understanding, a tremendous amount of humility, at the same time to interact, to dialogue, and to make sure that you don't make it seem that you are the best thing that has happened to that person. No, you are there to provide them with a service. You are there to provide them with an assistance. You are there to provide them with guidance and a resource to improve their lives. Not that you're better than them as far as that is concerned. You understand what I'm saying, Charles? So I think a lot of people, unfortunately, when you go into different arenas and, work in different industries such as I have, tend to impose their career, their expertise on that particular person without acknowledging that that person might actually have something to offer to you something to teach you in reference to how you might see their situation and allow them to move forward. So with that being said, and to certain, and to circle around to the answer in reference to the remainder of the staff here at Maximus, as diverse as our client population and our program participants are, is as diverse of a background from an educational, from an academic, and also from an ethnicity perspective we have here in our New York City Career Pathways program. Just to let you know, we focus on training our staff in motivational interviewing, case management techniques, mandated reporting training, customer service skills, de-escalation techniques, and so forth.
Yeah, it's so true of what you just said, and I always say it's always the human element, and it's hard, I think, for people to really understand that, because we're kind of wired and programmed to not really, listen. Most people listen to respond, and not really listen to hear what someone has to say. And I know, your background, especially going to, LaGuardia, and what you studied there, and Lehman College, talk a little bit about that. It's great stuff. And you're right. We have to kind of take ourselves out of the position, move to the side, and just kind of give that other person time to shine. I learned that a lot, and it really hits home, like what you just said. Like my background, with John Jay College, I got my degree in criminal justice there. All of my training is with NYPD, the fire department, FEMA, OEM. So I would walk in, hot stuff, and then I'd have to really kind of learn to curtail that a bit, because some people are just new to the industry. They don't know. So if you're in a leadership or management position, it's your duty, I feel, to kind of give your all, to that person.
Correct.
And I know most of the staff who I've spoke to or worked there, they've kind of all worked within healthcare or customer service, so they have that mindset, pride. Forget about pride. I'm there to be humble and help people as well.
That is correct.
When I worked in HR for a little bit, I mean, this story always hits me, and if I tear up, you can start laughing.
No, not at all.
It's so funny. There was a gentleman, underserved, from the Bronx. We helped that person get a job who could not get a job for over like 2 years. Just literally hundreds of resumes out the door. Nobody called them. Finally landed in front of our company, and I just ran into him randomly on the train. Guy, hugged me. Oh my God, I can't believe what you did for me and my family. This job helped me so much, because now he's able to provide for his kids and his grandkids, to go to school and go to college. And he said, all I needed was a shot. All I needed was a chance, to get my foot in the door and kind of, make my own way. So sometimes, we forget that, that we're here to help others.
100%, Charles. 100%. I think there's a couple of things that we take for granted in life. A simple thank you, we take for granted all the time. And look at, the reaction that gentleman gave you, that hug that gentleman gave you. Sometimes money can equate to that.
Yeah.
Money can equate to that at times, brother. So, and I tell people that all the time. There are certain simple things within life that we take for granted. One of my favorite words, I'll be honest with you, and I'll share this, in this platform, that I tend to use a lot. And I say this because I think that people tend to forget to use the word a lot nowadays, because we are, how could I say this, Charles? I feel like in today's society, we're going through a period of, it's about me, right? It's about me, my circumstances, and what you're gonna do to help me get there, right? Instead of you actually thinking about the collective and the community, right? And you forget that you're an essential component of a community, right? You're an essential part of either divesting, right, regressing your community, or actually increasing the fact that your community could expand, and could grow, and could, blossom into something beautiful. Let's say, for example, you had mentioned my background and my academic experience as far as that is concerned. I'm a proud son of Washington Heights, New York City. proud son. I'm like, if I could put a label here, I will say Washington Heights right until I die. Right, but again, this is a professional platform, so again, we'll talk about that on a different setting. But I'm a very proud son, and I'm gonna tell you a couple of the reasons why, Charles. There was a period in New York City, particularly when you talk about media and communications, where that particular community was bombarded throughout, not only throughout local news but also international news. That particular community was projected in a negative light. And as you know, sometimes when you don't there's a particular famous line from a street poet and a rapper by the name of Nas, who says, people fear what they can't understand and hate what they can't conquer. And that is just a theory of man. So when, we had a New York City within the late 70s and early 80s went through an influx of migration of Dominicans, and many were actually centered within the Washington Heights community. They did not come first to the Washington Heights community. They actually came to Queens. But the mass migration that actually came during that particular second fleet in the late 70s, late 70s and 80s, was residing in Washington Heights. And there was a lot of negative press, a lot of misunderstanding, a lot of fabrication on this particular community. Yes, definitely there is there is a couple of points that obviously the community needs to improve upon, but not all of us were prone to get arrested or anything of that sort. And I say that to come back to the point of, I use my upbringing in that particular neighborhood. I use my upbringing, particularly also with my mother, what my mother taught me, in order to empathize with my community, because all people need is a chance.
Yep, so true.
All people need is a chance to be heard, a chance to be seen, a chance to actually, be front and center and say, I'm being valued and being appreciated.
I hope we don't start like a rap battle war, because I know you talked about Nas. I'm from Brooklyn, so I represent Biggie.
Easy now. Easy.
Take this one back on track for a minute. But it's funny because that's what it boils down to, right? It's this or that. You could like them both, right? That era, forget about it. You got Wu-Tang as well, and so many other rappers.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, man.
So, I learned a little bit about the workforce side of things, and, trying to really understand, the who's who of the industry. So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about your agency's track record and reputation in this industry.
Sure.
I thought that was so important, and I'm going to share the screen, of the website, as I go through this.
Mm-hmm. That's cool.
Everything, and you help veterans and individuals get to work, careers, just so much stuff that's out there that you guys do.
Gotcha. So as I mentioned previously, Charles, and I'll reiterate to this particular point. So this particular program, just to be a little bit more specific to NYC Career Pathways, was established by HRA in 2017. Since then, Maximus and this particular program has been able to help more than 4,000 program participants with job placement in multiple industries. That's a tremendous feat. I'm like, particularly when you look at, that short span and period of time, right? That's a tremendous feat. So that is kudos to the organization and kudos to this particular program for, keeping that at their core and their fundamental principle, right? Also throw the number 2 out there, right? Because I'm going to give you another detail as well. So within the last year, Maximus has maintained the number 2 spot. Again, number 2. We're actually going to try to hit for number 1, because number 2 is not enough. We're going to try to hit for number 1. The number 2 spot in the city amongst vendors for employment.
Wow.
And that is something, again, you could hear Keisha talk about this, you could hear Claudia talk about this. They're exceptionally proud of that. You will hear, even with our program manager and our project director as well, that is something that they're exceptionally proud about, and something that they want to continue to advocate and continue to work towards. Again, I don't think number two is enough. We eventually want to get to number one. Obviously, we need to put certain system and processes in place in order to make that happen. But that's an amazing accomplishment on behalf of this organization, and kudos to the entire staff and village that works for the New York City Career Pathways program for making that happen.
Yeah, one thing, it's also on the website, the employer list, and I think you strategically partnered with all of the great companies in New York City. So I would like to know, and I'm pretty sure most of the people watching now or who might watch this a little bit later, what is the agency's process, right? If you have someone who comes in first time, they're just trying to get a job, they're not sure, what they want to do. How do you match candidates with the correct training and job opportunities?
Sure, Charles. So what we do, similar to what I think I might have mentioned a few minutes ago, that particular individual, that program participant, let's say, for example, take the Bronx office, they'll come here, right? And they get partnered with a case manager. It's the case manager's responsibility to formally interview this individual, right, and see where they're at, right? So let's say, for example, that particular individual might not have a resume, right? So what we have to do, we have to actually send that individual into one of our resume workshops, right? Let's say, for example, that individual might voice and might express to the case manager, hey, I haven't interviewed in 4 or 5 years. I need to, maybe schedule some mock interviews. What we would do actually is schedule that particular individual and enroll them into our interview academy. So the objective of the interview academy is to really prepare the program participant with a 60-second elevator sales pitch, right? Where they could actually sell themselves to the best of their ability, speak to their resume without, feeling that they're over articulating or over emphasizing on particular points in their body of their career, right? Within that as well, let's say, for example, this particular person is job ready, and this is where my particular team, right, the business services team and the account management team comes in. The case manager will send us a communication. They'll let us know, hey guys, listen, this particular individual has finished resume workshop. They have finished they have done all their courses in interview academy. They are ready to interview. They're truly focused on wanting to get an employment opportunity within the public safety and security guard sector. Is there any employers at this time that are offering employment opportunities? So that's where, again, the account management team comes in, Charles, and we actually go through our pool of employers that are currently offering employment opportunities. We reach out to the employer, try to see what is their availability as far as that is concerned to actually interview that individual. After that, we prepare, forms and send confirmation emails as far as that is concerned to both the hiring manager at the vendor and also the participant to make sure, hey, you're going to interview on X date and X time, right? Great. Awesome. Let's say the interview, for example, Charles, takes place on this past Monday, July 24th at 10 o'clock. It is our responsibility, as well as the case manager's responsibility, to follow up with the participant, and we at the account management end, we follow up with the employer, right? We ask the employer for any particular feedback on that particular interview process, and if they're going to move forward with that candidate. The case manager will actually follow up with the program participant, and the program participant there would elaborate whether if they like the opportunity, if they feel that they were underqualified or overqualified for the opportunity, or if they want to actually move forward. Let's give the hypothetical here that they do want to move forward. Um, so if they do want to move forward, and also the employer wants to move forward, obviously the offer will be placed on the table by the employer to the participant, as far as that is concerned. And then once they start working, that particular individual becomes part of something we like to call our retention program. So our retention program tends to celebrate, right, the milestones that our program participants actually achieve within their job, whether if it's 30 days, uh, whether if it's 3 months, 6 months, a year, right? So we actually celebrate those particular milestones, and within that, they get benefits and perks such as Metro cards, gift cards, raffles and things of that nature.
That is awesome. I know, sometimes people, if they're signing up for the programs, they're not
Mhm.
sure, like documents, like what do they have to bring if they're coming to your door? Do they need to bring a resume? Do you help them make one? Do they have to bring photo ID? Do you help them get it if they don't have it?
Sure. So let's go back to that particular point that you just finished making, right? The resume, right? So with the resume, Charles, if they don't have one, yes, we here help them make one. What they will have to actually articulate to us is their experience, right? Because it could be, let's say, for example, Charles, and I've run into this experience in the past where you might run into a participant or into a client that unfortunately has difficulty writing, right? That maybe has not never had an opportunity or a chance to really put a resume together. So again, that's where your empathy and your consideration comes in, and I think hence why I think the our resume workshop program is so valuable, because we have workshop facilitators that are able to meet that particular participant where they're at, right? So let's go back to into looking at security, right? As you mentioned a couple of seconds ago, and use that example. If they are if they already are, let's say, for example, interviewing on the 24th, right? Let's use the Monday the 24th. Within that, they'll receive an email, and that email will encompass, right, just a confirmation, right, a couple of days before, indicating, hey, this is to confirm that you're going to interview with X vendor at X time. Um, Here is a referral form. The referral form will include the vendor's address, instructions on how to get there using public transportation, and it will also include as well, Charles, additional information in reference to what are the other items that that employer might need in order to again complete the application process and the interview process. Maybe a social security card, a photo ID, and so forth.
It's funny, just kind of thinking about this now. I'll talk a little bit about my very first like real job. I
Hmm.
worked in a movie theater. It was in my neighborhood. It was a great place. I loved it.
Mm.
But then, kind of moving on to the next job, I never wrote a resume before. I had no clue. So I'm thinking I have to write it like on a piece of paper. This is going back, early 90s. There really wasn't, fancy like Microsoft Word or, even the apps that you see now. Because that's what I use. I use, and I have it on my phone. I tell everybody, download, a resume app. You have your resume with you 24/7. You never know what happens.
Good
Um,
advice.
but I couldn't really articulate, what I did. So, the next company is like, well, what did you do? I worked in a movie theater. They're like, okay, what did you do? I rip tickets and clean the theater. That's it. Yeah. So they just kind of put me on a lot of maintenance duty on my next job, which
Mm.
um, I didn't know how to articulate what I did. So, learning throughout the years, well, I should have put, I cleaned, 250,000 square feet, 18, cinemas, just kind of like articulating task by task by task. And then getting into the first security job, I strongly encourage people take the time to highlight your skills, what you're good at. And if you're not sure, ask someone. I know that you guys will help them do that. But I got my first security job right out of the military. Guys like, okay, what'd you do? Well, it's infantry. Okay, go to my first security job. I'm looking around. They stick me in the loading dock. Overnights, 4 walls, nothing's going on. I'm like, okay, this is not fun. I need to really learn how to put, pen to paper and highlight what I can do. What are my strengths, so they can, use me to the best of my abilities and theirs.
Sure.
So, I've learned that, and technology today. There are so many free apps you can download, and AI will kind of help you write a resume a little bit, but I can't stress that enough. You kind of think of it in 2 parts. The resume is kind of like knocking and getting in the door, and then when you interview, practice. Make sure that you know exactly what you want to say.
Exactly.
You hit it on the head, right? You got like 60 seconds to highlight why you're the person for that job.
It's funny that you mentioned that, Charles, because a couple of days ago I was having a conversation with one of our program participants who was actually was going to interview with a vendor that your organization and our organization have in common, and I'm going to reserve their name, obviously, for purposes of this particular podcast. But we talked about how her wanted to be as concise as possible in her delivery, as far as that is concerned, where she actually spoke with the hiring manager, and she also had mentioned that she has some issues previously with her resume, as far as that is concerned, that she feel that it didn't speak to what she wanted it to speak to, and she actually was very appreciative of the help that Maximus, and particularly the staff here in the Bronx, was able to provide her with, really painting the picture that she wanted to paint, right? Mm-hmm. Because it actually sold her better now, as far as that is concerned. And luckily so, I believe actually she was employed by that particular vendor this week. So it was actually music to our ears to receive that good news a couple of days ago. So that was awesome. So that is I think that those are things sometimes that we tend to miss. Yeah. Charles, let's say, for example, again, you're amazing at carrying a resume app on your phone. Not a lot of individuals have that, but it comes in handy. Yeah. It comes in handy, and you're your bills. You are. I like to tell people all the time, you are your best sales pitch. Yep. And it's okay to ask for help in how to organize your best sales pitch, right? And you don't necessarily need sales experience for that either. No. You could be dynamic, right? But not be articulate. You could be articulate, but not dynamic. So it's about, where to put that icing on the cake.
Absolutely true. It's funny because I always say something similar. You're always going to be your number one advocate, and you have to be your number one advocate, especially in the workforce, because you think about just a particular job. A company has maybe 1 spot open, or maybe they have 20 spots open. Technology, you have thousands of resumes coming in. You gotta not only get your resume in there, but follow up, right? Hey, call. Hey, I sent my resume in. I wanted to follow up. Sometimes you gotta really not just knock on the door, but beat that door down to get in there. Follow up. And we tell that, and I know you tell people all the time. There's a process to that. I always say, follow up with a nice email. Thank you for interviewing with me today. That stuff really does stick out with employers. They know who wants to work and who wants to get out there.
Yeah, exactly.
So, one of the questions that does come up frequently from some of your students when they come to us, but I think in general, this is one. Are there any limitations or restrictions for the job opportunities or training? Because sometimes they'll do the security, but they find out, hey, Maximus does nursing. Can I do both to get 2 jobs?
You know what, Charles? Not really. As far as that is concerned, we don't really have any limitations at this point. What we really gravitate to is what's truly hot in the job market and really what our participants are coming in and expressing interest for. As far as that is concerned, like I mentioned to you before, security within the last couple of months, particularly since I've joined the team, has been top tier.
Mhm.
As far as that is concerned, in reference to trying to really grow that the trying to grow the portfolio that the New York City Career Pathways program has, with reference to the amount of employers within that sector, and also grow the amount of employment opportunity within that sector for our program participants. Sorry about that. And that's really been our bread and butter, throughout the last couple of months, as far as that is concerned. So, and we've had a lot, just like with you guys and your organization, we've partnered up and scheduled whether trainings or interview sessions and things of that nature between each other, for our program participants. So um, really, we don't have any limitations. It's more about what the job market is really detailing at this particular time, and really what our program participants desires and needs are in reference to employment.
That I kind of get this question a lot. Are security guard companies hiring? Yes, all of the time. You go to any thing like Indeed or Monster, Glassdoor, literally hundreds upon hundreds of security jobs. And a lot of them, entry level, you get your foot in the door. There are specialties within the industry. I know that you help individuals get their fire department FO2 licenses for
That is
shelters.
correct. Yeah.
We're almost able to get people employment right away because that's a very popular one.
Yes.
The
Speaking
FO1,
of, we actually have FO2 workshop today as well as Monday. So,
got
and yeah.
and Claudia sent me a list of names. There's people coming today to pick up money orders and letters, and then they're going right down the block near us at the fire department headquarters. Go take
Yeah,
that.
she's on top of her game, man. She's a tremendous asset to this organization. She's amazing. Claudia is just amazing.
We love Claudia here. Literally, she'll tell them pick up the letters, go take the test, and then come back here because then you're gonna go interview for a job. So
Hmm.
make the most of your time. You're right in the neighborhood for everybody that you got to see.
Exactly.
Really good stuff. I know the nursing stuff you guys do is another popular in demand training and lots of jobs out there. Frontline workers, they're always going to be in demand. Great stuff.
Hmm.
The last question that we have, lucky number 7. Um, could you share a success story um, or any examples of recent graduates with your program? I know we do stuff, on a monthly basis with Guardian and Maximus, but do you have any success stories you'd like to share?
Yeah, no, absolutely. We have There's a particular individual that comes to mind, and that individual was actually part of our Youth Pathways program. So our Youth Pathways program is also a program of program participants between the ages of 18 to 24 that are also looking for employment opportunities. And with this particular individual, he wanted to obtain his security guard license, believe it or not, Charles, and all other certifications connected to security. Right. So, with the assistance of our organization, he was able to complete his security guard training, and he was able to obtain his FO2 training and certificate as well. Um, so, with that being said, utilizing a particular program that we use here, which is called Employ, that's one of the benefits that we actually have within our organization, that I wanted to, quickly touch upon. Not only Interview Academy, but also Employ is a platform that we use in which we actually upload the jobs that are currently hot in the market, right? And our program participants could go in and they could actually solicit for those jobs, as far as that is concerned. Um, This particular individual, he just truly stayed focused on trying to, obtain that particular opportunity to be a security guard as far as that is concerned. And, with the help of his case manager and also the account managers as well. They were able to locate the appropriate opportunity for that individual. And again, to your point, and I think to how we started the conversation earlier, it takes a village. It doesn't only take the case manager to point a program participant in that particular individual. This is all a domino effect, right? Where everybody plays a helping hand in having that particular program participant succeed in obtaining employment. And luckily so that happened with that particular youth participant.
Awesome. For those who are watching live, or once again who might watch this later on, I always will probably be your point of contact for training. So once you get through the first steps with Maximus, before you take the training, you'll get an email with all of like the instructions and forms you have to fill out. We do the training online, so you'll get an instructional video for Zoom to kind of better prepare you for the class. So that's everything. Before you even start, you're being put on the right path to succeed. Then obviously you do the training, which is 3 days. Typically, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. You'll schedule your fingerprints, and then we'll give detailed instructions on, getting the documents back to the advisors, getting it back to us at Guardian to mail to New York State, and then get the license. And then the final steps will be employment, right? Once you get that security license, there's a whole team of people that really do want to help get you employed and get you on the correct path to employment. Edmund, it's been a great session. I just kind of like to go over this again because I know we're probably going to start naming 90s rappers off the bat now. We'll go, tit for tat. I got to say, Brooklyn, Biggie, right? I know you mentioned Nas.
Yeah, you can leave it at that.
Yeah, that would be like just a thing.
You guys are proud with Big. You guys are proud with Big. I'm like, we could have a debate about, his amazing importance, not only within 90s hip hop, but just, the 50 years that hip hop has existed, and, his amazing diction. Because I think a lot of people do not appreciate the way that Christopher Wallace used to pronounce his words. I mean, you want to talk about clarity but again, this is a completely subject offline. We could have a separate podcast for this, and we could definitely, elaborate a little bit more on hip hop, particularly, when it comes to the golden age of hip hop for New York City, which was really the 90s. Some would argue the late 80s, but the 90s really saw the globalization of hip hop and kind of like a renaissance period for New York City. You mentioned, I mentioned Nas, you mentioned Wu-Tang, and Big. We have dude, Charles, let's not start, man. It's gonna be. We'll need a separate one.
We have our second podcast lined up for you and I.
Yes, sir. Yes,
but,
sir.
It's I always say two things bring people together: music and food.
Yes, 100%. And I think that it's funny that you mentioned that. I typically like to do that not only with family, but just with friends, and even with people who have different types of ideology. You put some food and you put music in the background as far as that is concerned, and start talking food and music, and you could have a peaceful conversation without anybody trying to get at each other. Because unfortunately, we're living in very polarized times where everybody is really gung-ho about their philosophy, about their ideologies of life. And I'm like, and sometimes it's not that serious.
Yeah. There's more that brings us together than actually divides us. And if people took a moment to take a pause, I think we'd be in a great place in this world. Edmund, how can people register and find Maximus? What's the best way for them to register?
Oh man, go to maximus.com/New York. As far as that is concerned, you could find any of the information in reference to our program there. And once again, like I mentioned to you before, particularly for the New York City Career Pathways program, a lot of the program participants will find that information via HRA. Right, via the Human Resources Administration of New York City as well. But yeah, www.maximus.com/New York. Find us there.
Awesome. I can't believe how fast this goes. I've done a few of these with agencies, a few of them with the instructors, and literally the time flies. I really do thank you and your team there at Maximus, for carving away an hour of the day. I know we're actually probably going to get on a call later because we have to follow up with some stuff for work.
Yeah, that is.
And then we've got to also schedule for your students, upcoming fingerprint appointments and training classes. So I really do thank you so much.
No, Charles, listen, man, the thanks goes to you. And again, express our gratitude to Bruce Tanzania and Miss Sherry Howard. You guys, do phenomenal work on your end as well to make sure that individuals are not only getting properly trained to be, the next generation of great security guards, but to really make sure that they have longevity and a splendid career in that arena if they choose it to be so. It's been a tremendous partnership, at least for the 10-year that I've had here within the organization, and we're looking, to continue building on that tenure as well. So once again, thank you for inviting us, for extending the invitation. I hope that my particular participation was of some amusement to anyone that was actually watching us today. I wish you a happy Friday. I wish those that are also viewing us a happy Friday as well, a healthy and productive, relaxing also Friday, and a good weekend to all. Thank you for watching. Charles, once again, thank you for the invitation. Appreciate it, man.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you, and we will definitely chat later. Have a good one.
You do the same. Thank you.